Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the land of enchantment in the heart of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And today's date, Friday, July 24th, 2015. Yes, I decided to do another episode on the same day. It just got me a few things I had to speak about. And it's something really occurring in Pompano Beach, Florida, which is north of Fort Lauderdale, to be exact. So I just had to scratch my head, and I gotta thank one of my boys, Rigo, from Facebook, for putting it out. And I'm gonna give you my intake on this. Plus, I got other stuff I want to address. So let's just start off right now. This is from the Sun Sentinel. It came out today, and it is entitled First Pompano Church of Satan Creeps Closer to Pompano Beach Commission Invocation. And it came out today by Annie Jagus. Came out actually 6:10 a.m. Woo! As it reads here, the First Pompano Beach Church of Satan has its Atlantic Boulevard address and its Yellow Pages listing. And now its leader wants an audience in front of the city commission with deacons twerking to the thong song. A lot of satire here, I see. A Yellow Page listing and a Pompano Page address were two of the requirements that the commission set last week in an effort to exclude self-described minion of Satan from leading the invocation that begins its city commission meetings. That minion, Chaz Stevens, who is also an activist for separating church and state, and says he's going to challenge legality on that July 14th resolution. But in the meantime, he sets about meeting the commission's requirements for participating in the tradition that usually brings the city Christian pastors before the commission. Abandon all hope, reads the Yelp description of the new church. After all, this is Pompano Beach. For the rest, we offer salvation, ice cold beer, ice cold imported beer, and the occasional stripper named Mercedes. Could we say, come on in? Stevens says Pompano Beach needed saving and a good enema, so here we are. Mayor Lamar Fisher said that Stevens will be allowed to lead the invocation if the church meets the city requirements. All the parameters in the resolution said the church should fulfill the Internal Revenue Service definition of a non-profit. This is the first I've heard of this, Fisher said on the news of the Yellow Pages listing and Pompano Beach location of the church. The address is 2637 East Atlantic Boulevard. Is also location of Parcel Plus. Just to let you know, that's east of US 1, if you're familiar with Pompano Beach. Pompano Beach Commissioner Barry Doxwell, however, said he has been receiving emails from Stevens advising him on the progress of the church's establishment in the city, and it's exactly what he was trying to avoid when he proposed replacing invocation with a moment of silence. I just hope the commission realized that it is not possible to have a kind of invocation they would like to have while avoiding the kind they would like not to have. Not like to have, he said. We serve our citizens in the community by having a moment of silence rather than an invocation. I hope we can avoid being dragged into silliness and unnecessary legal expense, he added. So far, the church has 19 friends and 59 reviews have resulted in a 5-star rating on Yelp. I'm going to ramble a little bit about this. And I have to agree with Mr. Doxwell about the moment of silence instead of prayer. Of course, here's the thing. And I'm not offended by this by any means on the prayer and so forth. But if you're going to honor one particular creed to do the ceremonies, how many others you have to accept? So technically, they may have opened up a can of worms. And Mr. Stevens has some good points. I'm not saying I'm going to be crazy about the man I want to pray as a kiss before he walks on. Absolutely not. But the First Pompano Church of Satan does have the right to exist in that city. And in addition, he don't really need to file a 501c3. I'm going to look up the Pompano Beach resolutions. In a moment here. And I'm going to keep on rambling. And I know one thing for sure, that he's actually pushing the envelope. And I say that in good faith. I'm not here to knock Mr. Stevens or any of his supporters or anyone who's involved in this organization. If you study the Satanic Bible by the late Dr. Anton LaVey, you can understand it. It doesn't mean you have to agree. Alright, and I say that in good faith. This is like 11 pages long too, but I'm going to add that to the memo of this. So, and just I just find this pretty entertaining too. So like I said, he may be pushing the envelope, but it's nothing new. Many other people has done that in general when it comes to free speech, the First Amendment and so forth. Lenny Bruce, Anton LaVey, Howard Stern, to be example. How far can you go? Push that envelope. Even Larry Flint. So it's the same thing in a different package. So we'll just check out his updating. Requesting to perform a satanic invocation. And it says here, first Pompano Beach Church of Satan, which is under the myactsofedition.com blog. And he has around 44 days left. Has the address, the phone number, and all that. And it says here, via email, made a copy, go to Miss Hammond, which is the Pompano Beach City Clerk. According to the most recent city resolution, Satan, he prefers to go by Stan. And I would like to be added to the congregation's list database and queued up to perform a satanic invocation before your August body. You see, kitten, according to your own resolution, all religious congregations with an established presence in the local community of Pompano Beach are eligible to be and shall be in the congregation's list. Okie dokie, we're game. A little sarcasm here. And it says here, First Pompano Beach Church of Satan, 2637 East Atlantic Boulevard, Suite 1018, Pompano Beach, Florida, 33062. Has the website, firstpompanobeachchurchofsatan.org, and the phone number, 754-227-1586. And he continues on here. As you can plainly see from the attached, we've not only got us an internet website thing, we're also in the yellow pages. Hell, we even got ourselves a Yelp listing. Feel free to give us a review. Take that, Jesus H. Christ. And our address, our church, is clearly within city boundaries. So let me know what other silliness you'll be erecting, proposing, or passing that will continue to violate my constitutional rights under the 1st and 14th Amendments. Please note, the city's actions are inflicting considerable intentional emotional pain and suffering. Ouchie, Chaz Stevens, Satanist. Update. Also, one other thing, Miss Hammond. Will you kindly work into the civil rights abuse equation the fact we have a Yelp page? Give us a kiss and a review. Betcha Reverend Neil Snake Oil doesn't even have a Yelp page. So he loves using sarcasm here. And, which is typical. And let's just read. I want to read this little resolution, which I got it right here. Agenda item 30 to be exact. It was on that meeting July 14, 2015. Short title, the resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, establishing a policy regarding invocations before meetings of the Pompano Beach City Commission, making findings, providing an effective date. Summary of purpose and why, adopting a formal written policy to clarify the City Commission's invocation practices. This was done origin request for this action. Mayor Lamar Fisher, primary staff contact Gordon B. Lynn, city attorney, which has extension 4614. That's the departmental coordination, and it says here has department head signature, city manager signed it too. And let's just read this little City Commission here is to Dennis W. Beach, City Manager, Gordon B. Lynn, City Attorney. Resolution invocations before City Commission meetings. Attached, please find following caption, resolution addressing the above referenced matter. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, Florida, establishing a policy regarding invocations before a meeting of the Pompano Beach City Commission, making findings, providing an effective date. Please place this matter on July 14, 2015, City Commission agenda. I attach a City Commission cover sheet for your convenience. Should you have any questions regarding this matter, please feel free to contact me. Gordon B. Lynn. And the resolution's right here. And it says, I'll just continue go by here. It says, whereas the City Commission of the City of Pompano Beach, the Commission is an elected, legislative, and deliberative public body serving the citizens of Pompano Beach, Florida. And whereas the Commission wishes to maintain a tradition of solemnizing its proceedings by allowing for an opening invocation before each meeting for the benefit and the blessings of the Commission. And whereas the Commission now desires to adopt this formal written policy to clarify its invocation practices. Our country's founders recognized that we possess certain rights that cannot be awarded, surrendered, nor corrupted by human power, and the founders' explicitly attribute the origin of these our inalienable rights to a creator. These rights ultimately ensure the self-government manifest in our commission upon which we desire to invoke divine guidance and blessings, and whereas invocation before deliberative public bodies has been consistently upheld as constitutional by American courts, including the United States Supreme Court, and whereas Marsh versus Chambers, which is 463 U.S. 783, 1983. That's the case. The United States Supreme Court rejected a challenge to Nebraska's legislative practice of opening each day of its session with prayers by a chaplain paid with taxpayer dollars, and specifically concluded the opening of sessions of legislative and other deliberative public bodies with prayer is deeply embedded in the history and tradition of this country. From colonial times, though the founding of the Republic, and ever since, the practice of legislative prayer has coexisted with the principles of this establishment and religious freedom, ID at 786. And whereas the Commission desires to avail itself to the Supreme Court's recognition that it's constitutionally permissible for the public body to invoke divine guidance on its work, ID at 792. Such invocation is not, in these circumstances, an establishment of religion or a step toward establishment. It is simply a tolerable acknowledgement of beliefs widely held among the people of this country. IDN, whereas the U.S. Supreme Court affirmed Lynch versus Donnelly 465 U.S. 668, 1984. As it says here, our history is replete with official references to the value and invocation of divine guidance and deliberation in the pronouncement of the founding fathers and contemporary leaders, ID at 675, and whereas the Supreme Court further stated that government acknowledgments of religion served in the only ways reasonably possible in our culture, the legitimate secular purpose of solemnizing public occasions, expressing confidence in the future, and encouraging the recognition of what is worthy of appreciation in society. For that reason, and because of their history and ubiquity, those practices are understood as conveying governmental approval of particular religious beliefs. ID at 389, O'Connor J. concurring, and whereas the Supreme Court also famously observed in Zarek v. Colson 343 U.S. 306, 1952, we are religious people whose institutions presuppose a supreme being. At 313-14, and whereas the Supreme Court acknowledged in Holy Trinity Church versus the United States 143 U.S. 457, 1892, that the American people have long followed a custom of opening sessions on all deliberative bodies with most conventions with prayer. ID at 471, and whereas the Supreme Court has determined content of such prayer is not of concern to judges where there is no indication that the prayer opportunity has been exploited to proselytize or advance anyone or to disparage any faith or belief. March 463 U.S. at 794-75, and whereas the Supreme Court also proclaimed that it should not be the job of the courts or deliberative public bodies to embark on a sensitive evaluation or to parse the content of a particular prayer offered before a deliberative public body, IDN. Whereas the Supreme Court has counseled against the efforts of government officials to affirmatively screen, censor, prescribe, and or prescribe the specific content of public prayers offered by public speakers, as such government efforts would violate the First Amendment rights of those speakers. C.E.G. L. Lee versus Weissman, 505 U.S. 557, 588 to 589, 1992, and whereas in Pelfrey et al. Versus Cobb County, Georgia et al. 547 F 3D 1263 11th Circuit Court, October 28, 2008, the United States Supreme Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit, which includes Florida, held that the practice of allowing clergy to offer uncensored religious invocations, a beginning of sessions of a county commission and county planning, did not violate the Establishment Clause as long as the invocation did not advance or disparage a belief or affiliate government with specific faith. And whereas the U.S. Supreme Court has recently held the town of Greece versus Galloway et al. 134, I think State Court 1811, 2014. So as long as the town maintains a policy of non-discrimination in legislative prayers, the Constitution does not require a town to search beyond its borders for non-Christian prayers, givers, in an effort to achieve religious balancing. Something to really look at this, So, and it says here, whereas the Commission intends and has intended in past practice to adopt a policy that does not proselytize or advance any faith or show any purposeful preference of one religious view to the exclusion of others, and whereas the Commission recognizes constitutional duty to interpret, construe, and amend its policies and ordinance to comply with constitutional requirements as they are announced, and whereas the Commission accepts as binding the applicability of the general principles of law and all rights and obligations afforded under the United States and Florida Constitution statutes. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Commission of Pompano Beach, Florida, Section 1, the foregoing findings and incorporated herein by reference made part hereof. Section 2, in order to solemnize proceedings of the Commission, it is the policy of the Commission to allow for invocation or prayer to be offered before its meetings for the benefit of the Commission. Section 3, the invocation shall not be listed or recognized as an agenda item for the meeting as part of a public business. 4, no member or employee of the Commission or any other person in attendance at the meeting shall be required to participate in any invocation that is offered. 5, the invocation shall be voluntary, delivered by an eligible member of a clergy as specified below. To ensure that such person, the invocation speaker, is selected from among a wide pool of local clergy on a rotating basis, the invocation speaker shall be selected according to the following procedure. The city clerk shall compile and maintain a database of the congregation's list of the religious congregations with an established presence in the local community of Pompano Beach. A congregation's list shall be complied by referencing the listing for churches, congregations, or other religious assemblies in the annual Yellow Pages phone books published for the city of Pompano Beach, research from the internet, and consultation with local chambers of commerce. All religious congregations with established presence in the local community of Pompano Beach are eligible to be and shall be included in the congregation's list. Interesting, huh? Something to think about that. So technically, Chad Stevens is legit in those areas. I say, regardless of what your views are on his on his cause. Okay, is not whether you agree with this man or not. Okay, on his particular practice. He is dead on and spot on Section A, and I say that out of respect. Even if it's a home Christian, a Christian that does home churches, he's legit as well. All right, and let's check out what B has to say. B, the policy is tended to be and shall be applied in a way all-inclusive of every diverse religious congregation within Pompano Beach. The congregation list complied and used for purposes of logistics, efficiency, and equal opportunity for all of the community religious leaders who may themselves choose whether to respond to the Commission's invitation and participate. Should a question arise to the authenticity of a religious congregation, the city clerk shall refer to criteria used by the Internal Revenue Service determination of those religious organizations would legitimately qualify for Section 501c3 tax-exempt status. Right there is considered unconstitutional. First Amendment, the U.S. Constitution, Congress shall make no laws on establishment of religion. They're trying to say you have to have tax-exempt status. That's from the Johnson Amendment. Lyndon B. Johnson proposed that 501c3 tax-exempt status. So technically, based on this, to qualify, you have to compromise your First Amendment rights of the U.S. Constitution. Freedom of religion. Okay? And this is, I say, contradicts the separation of church and state. And I will continue on here. Congregations list shall also include the name and contact information of any chaplain who may serve one or more of the fire departments or law enforcement agencies of Pompano Beach. D. Congregations list shall also include the name and contact information of any religious congregation located outside Pompano Beach. And such religious congregation is attended by a resident or residents of Pompano Beach, and such resident requests the inclusion of said religious congregation by specific written communication to the city clerk. E. The congregation list shall be updated by reasonable efforts of the city clerk on or about a month of November of each calendar year. All right, so it has to be updated. F. Within 30 days of the effective date of this policy and on or about December 1 of each calendar year thereafter, the city clerk shall mail an invitation addressed to the religious leader of each congregation listed on the congregation's list, as well to the individual chaplains included on the congregation's list. G. An invitation shall be dated at the top of the page, signed by the city clerk. The bottom of the page, it'll read as follows. Dear religious leader, the Pompano Beach City Commission makes its policy to invite members of the clergy in Pompano Beach to a voluntary offer an invocation before the beginning of its meetings. For the benefit and blessings of the Commission, as a leader of one of the religious congregations with an established presence in the local community, or in your capacity as a chaplain for one of the local fire departments or law enforcement agencies, or as a religious leader of one or more Pompano Beach residents, you are eligible to offer this important service at an upcoming meeting of the Commission. So right there, they may have entrapped themselves. Respectfully speaking, the City Commission of Pompano Beach. And I will continue on here. If you're willing to assist the Commission in this regard, please send a written reply at your earliest convenience to the City Clerk at the address included on this letterhead. The clergy are scheduled on a first-come, first-served basis. The dates of the Commission's scheduled meetings for the upcoming year are listed on the following attached page. If you preference among the dates, please state that you request in your written reply. This opportunity is voluntary, and you are free to offer the invocation according to the dictates of your own conscience. To maintain a spirit of respect and ecumenism, the Commission requests that the invocation opportunity will not be exploited as an effort to convert others to the particular faith of the invocation speaker, nor to disparage any faith or belief different than that of the invocation speaker. On behalf of the City Commission of Pompano Beach, City of Pompano Beach, I thank you in advance for considering this invocation. Sincerely, the City Clerk. Oh man, they just got me. They may just bamboozle themselves respectfully. And now we'll continue on here. Section 6. As an invitation letter indicates, the respondents to the invitation shall be scheduled on a first come first served basis to deliver the invocations. 7. No invocation speaker shall receive compensation for his or her service. 8. The city clerk shall make every reasonable effort to ensure that a variety of eligible invocation speakers are scheduled for the commission meetings. In the event no invocation speakers shall be scheduled to offer an invocation at consecutive meetings of the commission, or more than 3 commission meetings in any calendar year. You imagine that? Do it by the seasons. Okay. 9. Section 9. Neither the commission nor the city clerk shall engage in any prior inquiry, review of, or involvement in the content of any invocation to be offered by an invocation speaker. Section 10. Shortly before the opening gavel that officially begins the meeting and agenda business of the public, the mayor shall introduce the invocation speaker and the person selected to recite the Pledge of Allegiance following the invocation, and by only those who wish to do stand for those observance and for the commission. So they have that option. Okay, that's fair enough. Section 11, this policy is not intended and shall not be implemented or construed in any way to affiliate the commission with, nor express the commission's preference for or against any faith or religious denomination. Rather, this policy is intended to acknowledge and express the commission's respect for the diversity of religious denominations and faiths represented and practiced among the citizens of Pompano Beach. Section 12, to clarify the Commission's intentions as stated here and above, the following disclaimer shall be included in at least 10-point font at the bottom of any printed Commission meeting agenda. Any invocation that may be offered before the official start of the Commission shall be the voluntary offering of a private citizen and for the benefit of the Commission. The views and beliefs expressed by the invocation speaker have not been previously reviewed or approved by the Commission, and the Commission is not allowed by law to endorse the religious beliefs or views of this or any other speaker. Section 13, the resolution shall become effective. They have the dates and all that. And here's the final page. And it says here is resolution number 1821, a resolution declaring it to the policy of the city commission to have a clergyman open the meeting. It says here, whereas it is the failing of the city commission that their meetings should be opened by a clergyman or in his absence be a prayer, and whereas the prayer is in keeping with the tenets of dignity and the faith of man of God, now therefore be it resolved by the city commission of the city of Pompano Beach. Section 1, that the City Commission of Pompano Beach, Florida, does herein declare it to be a policy hereafter that the City Commission is to open its meeting, which regular meetings, like they're trying to do some, they want to do this in addition, with a prayer by a clergyman, or in his absence with the Lord's Prayer, passed and adopted the 24th of November, 1959. I think it's Mayor Hill and this City Clerk Sharp. So attest to that. That's just an archive, so it looks like they're going to be doing little alterations on that. But it's pretty interesting about the whole thing. Like I said, they may have opened themselves up a can of worms to invite people from different religious creeds. But another thing I have to say about this is it does contradict their oath of office by violating Article 2, Section 5 of the Florida Constitution. Because when you talk about using the IRS statutes or tax exemption, that's completely right there. It becomes a state organization, not a constitutional church or free church, but compromised to the state. So technically it does breach the separation of church and state, just to let you guys know. It's just the same, just read the First Amendment U.S. Constitution. All right, so it is very interesting. So but I just do get a big kick out of this. And this is what I wrote my comments in here. And it says here, regardless of what your beliefs are, the First Pompano Beach Church of Satan has a right to exist. Plus, they don't need to file a 501c3 reform for the IRS because it shall compromise the separation of church and state. Any questions? Examine Amendments 1 and 9 of the U.S. Constitution. He said the 14th, which is okay. Then Article 1, Section 2, 3, and 5 of our state constitution. Furthermore, if the mayor and or commissioners keep harassing them with deceptive rhetoric by not honoring the organization's wishes, then they violate it. Article 2, Section 5, the oath of office under Article 2, Section 5 of our Florida Constitution. I gave them a link to verify that. So those are like my comments on there. So I went a little further. But the whole thing is, I did make a little addition on here. I go, in addition, Mr. Stevens just pushing the envelope. That's just my honest viewpoint. Nothing against the man personally. I haven't even met him, so I can't really make any prior judgment towards him. So, and let's just read that. Okay, let's just read Article 1, Section. Let's just read Declaration of Rights, which is Article 1. And it says here on basic rights. Okay, basic rights. All natural persons, female and male alike, are equal before the law and have inalienable rights, among which are the rights to enjoy, defend life, liberty, to pursue happiness, to be awarded for industry, and to require and possess and protect property, except that the ownership, inheritance, disposition, and possession of real property by aliens ineligible for citizenship may be regulated or prohibited by law. No shall a person be deprived of any rights because of race, religion, natural origin, or physical disability. So, if Mr. Stevens is a legit resident or or citizen, okay, those rights have to be honored by the city of Pompano Beach. Okay, the Pompano Beach has to honor that. And we go on here. Religious freedom, Section 3 of Article 1. There should be no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting or penalizing their exercise thereof. Religious freedom shall not justify practices inconsistent with public morals, peace, or safety. No revenue of the state or any political subdivision or agency thereof shall be taken from the public treasury directly or indirectly in aid of any church, sect, or religious denomination, or in any aid of any sectarian institution. So right there, the whole thing with the 501c3 is just another addition that they cannot be penalized or have a fee because of their exercise thereof. So right there, that 501c3 is null and void even under this particular section of our state constitution. And we can go further here about peaceably to assembly. I can say free speech too, but it's obvious about peaceably to assemble. The people shall have the right to peaceably to assemble, to instruct their representatives and petition for redress grievances. So they can assemble there peacefully, as long as no one having their rights being violated and all that. So this particular area on what Mr. Stevens doing, I remember watching an interview with Peter Gilmore, and someone did an interview with him on the Church of Satan. He's a high priest now in New York City, and he said that the Church of Satan, is nothing more than show business. So Mr. Stevens may be doing this out of show business, but I'm not making any judgmental decisions towards the man. But he knows how to try to get people's attention. Like a little fishing game. Like you caught the fish, hook, line, and sinker. That's what Mr. Stevens may be doing, allegedly. So, and we can just go a little further down here. Article 2, Section 5 of our state constitution, which is entitled Oath of Office. Public officers, and it says here, we'll go to subsection B. Okay, each state and county officer before entering upon the duties of office shall give bond as required by law, and shall swear or affirm, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and the government of the United States and of the state of Florida, that I'm duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the title of office therein, on which I am now about to enter, so help me God, and thereafter shall devote personal attention of the duties of office, and continue in office until a successor qualifies. And they do have to sign a document too about their oath, and it's public information in the state of Florida. You can check on anyone. They cannot take that away from you. You have to pay maybe a little fee, for copying, which is okay. Which is no big deal, but they cannot take that away from you. In the state of Florida, you're entitled to get those documents, pay the fee. You don't have to sign any policies whatsoever, because it's under Article 1, Section 24A of our state constitution as well. So I'm gonna put all those links together, all the stuff I addressed here, on except for the comments, which is anyone can look at that. All right, anyone can look at that on my comments. But I'm going to put all the links on there. So on my speaker page, and everything I'm going to be addressing going to do the same thing. So if you want to look at it and give your viewpoints, go ahead. You are invited to speak your mind, disagree, agree. It doesn't matter, because I do believe in freedom of thought and honorable discussions. All right? Okay, so the next one here came from The Intercept, which I actually, these couple links I got from this one. I did the one, too, on the Dark Act. I believe, is this the Dark Act? Let me see here. Oh, okay, no, Chase, JPMorgan Chase. Okay, I got them originally from Blacklisted News by Doug Owens. Get a big shout out for him. Thank you for putting this information out on Twitter. And check out his show too. He's good. He has some good points as well. So, and we do follow each other on Twitter. And hey, he follows me on Spreaker. I follow him as well. So check it out. blacklistednews.com. So, and he just got this from The Intercept, which came out actually yesterday by Lee Fang. It's entitled, Private Prison Lobbyists Are Raising Cash for Hillary Clinton. Woo! Oh, really? And as it reads here, as immigration and incarceration issues become central to the 2016 presidential campaign, lobbyists for two major prison companies are serving as top fundraisers for Hillary Clinton. Correction Corporation of America and the Geo Group could both see their fortunes turning if there are fewer people to lock up in the future. Yes, Geo Group is the main headquarters is located in Boca Raton, Florida. Plus, there's even, if I'm correct, donations or campaign funding from the Corrections Corporation of America to support now Governor Flip-Flop Rick Scott in 2010 elections, and maybe the 2014 as well. So think about that, my friends, okay? You got corporate prisons trying to fund their way to the people they think will be best interest for them and not for the people. Okay, and it says here, last week, Clinton and other candidates revealed a number of lobbyists who are serving as blunders for their campaign. Blunders collect contributions on behalf of a campaign and often rewarded with these special favors such as access to the candidate. Let's just see if I can get this. Document cloud, okay. Hillary for America. Oh, yeah, look at this. Okay, keep going. Yeah, so you got, some interesting people here. You got a bunch of lobbyists out here. Oh, yeah. Ooh. This is cute. Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Wow, look at all this money. Woo, yeah. I'm doing quarterlies here, so I'm going for $28,000 a month. Hey. Oh, yeah, look at that. This is interesting. So, yeah, definitely check that out, my friends. I'm just going to, that link's under Document Cloud. And it says here, Richard Sullivan, the lobbying firm Capital Counsel, is a bundler for the Clinton campaign, bringing in $44,859 contributions in a few short months. Sullivan is also a registered lobbyist for the Geo Group, a company that operates a number of jails, including immigrant detention centers, for profit. And let's see what they have to say here. Oh, yeah, look at that. Lobbying report. Woo, yeah, Capital Counsel LCC. Oh, yeah, they do exist. They're in Washington, D.C. And, yeah, $30,000. Ooh, that's lobbying for you. Wow. And, of course, lobbying issues as they relate to health care, alternatives to detention, and immigration reform. Senate Bill 744, Border Security, Economic Opportunity, and Immigration Modernization Act. Ow. Oh, yeah. This is nice, man. There's legitimate links there, my friend, okay? And it'll continue on. As reported yesterday, fully 5 Clinton blunders working for the lobby law firm Akin, Gump, Strauss, Howard, and Feld. Correction Corporation of America, the largest private prison firm in America, paid Akin Gump $240,000 in lobbying fees last year. The firm also served as a law firm for the prison giant, representing the company in court. Oh, really? How fascinating. Let's just see what they have to say about that. Let's check it out. Oh, yeah, United States Civilian Court Board of Contract Appeals. Oh, yeah. Correction Corporations of America versus Department of Homeland Security. Motion to dismiss denied. Motion to strike denied. Cross motions to Denville's. All right. Oh, this is good, man. Oh, yeah. Make complaints towards Homeland Security. I love it. Because it's like you got like two pieces of garbage going at each other. I find that fascinating. So, and I'm going to continue on here. Akin Gump lobbyist and Clinton bundler Brian Popper disclosed that he previously helped CCA defeat efforts to compel private prisons to respond to the Freedom of Information Act request. Let's see what the disclosure has to say about that. My first time just checking these out. Oh, yeah. All right, $60,000 in lobbying. Woo! All right, yeah, man. Akin Gump. Can we say extortion? And I'll continue on here. Hillary Clinton has a complicated history with incarceration. At first, she championed efforts to get tough on crime. We need more police. We need more and tougher prison sentences for repeat offenders. Clinton said in 1994, 3 strikes and you're out for violent offenders has to be part of the plan. We need more prison to keep violent offenders for as long as it takes to keep them off the street, she added. Well, I'm sorry about that, Hillary Clinton, but the police aren't obligated to protect us as individuals. You call yourself a lawyer? You know what? You need to study the sovereign immunity and liability tort on whatever state you're in. Look up one in New York. Look up that case, Joseph Lozito versus the city of New York. Man almost got stabbed to death, and the 2 cops, according to him, the 2 police officers hidden in their little holes while he was getting stabbed to death. And when he killed Mr. Lozito, got the criminal. Then the cops came in, and of course they tried to make a big parade out of it. From what's that goofball's name, Michael Jerkoff Bloomberg, trying to tell everybody, oh yeah, they did their job. Yeah, you know what? He deserves a P9 microphone for that, because it proved that Joseph Lozito had his side of the story, and it was proven in the hearing that the police aren't obligated to protect an individual in the city of New York. Just look it up yourself. I knew about this for a long time, and some people thought I was full of crap, and they found out I was right. They repented later, which is okay. Now we'll add here, in recent months, Clinton has tacked left in some ways and now calls for alternatives to incarceration and for greater police accountability. And while Clinton has backed to pass the citizenship for undocumented people in America, she recently signaled a willingness to crack down on so-called sanctuary cities. A move could lead to more immigrant detentions. The future of both criminal justice reform and immigration are critical for private prison firms. The GEO Group, in a disclosure statement for its investors, note that as a business could be adversely affected by changes in existing criminal or immigration law, crime rates in jurisdictions in which we operate for relaxation of criminal or immigration enforcement efforts, leniency in conviction, sentencing or deportation practices, and the decriminalization of certain activities that are currently prescribed by criminal laws or the loosening of immigration of laws. And let's just look at the investors here. Oh yeah, risk factors and all that. Yeah, so all the exhibits are here. Just to let you know, they're all linked. All linked. Light blue. Yeah, like light blue, purple, whatever you want to do it. So I do get a big kick out of this. And you know what? Hillary Clinton is just another flip-flopping stooge for the New World Order. Do as she is told. Yahoo! Exactly. And of course, her fraternal twin brother, Jeb Bush, is the same way. They think alike. They smell the same. They're from 2 separate wings from one bird, a vulture. They think alike. They smell the same. That's right. And I don't care if you want to worship her and thinks she'll be the greatest thing since sliced bread to all the Hillary Clinton supporters, because you know why? You forget how the dirty stuff she did, even as a first lady and as senator of New York. Could you explain to me how come she made a statement a while back that Arkansas was her home state? That's some Barbara Streisand special of the pre-inaugural party, which they all, CBS, glorified this man as the true president since Thomas Jefferson. It was nothing more than a pipe dream. Explain to me how come she's not in Arkansas anymore. She's in New York. Explain that. I dare you. I am begging and beseeching you folks that our Hillary supporters defend her honor, which she has none. And she is not constitutionally qualified to be president of the United States because she hates our Bill of Rights culture, period. No ends, ifs, or buts. And now with this private prison lobbyist supporting Hillary Clinton, you should be up in arms, even especially the people in Florida. All right? You went after flip-flop Rick Scott on the private prisons. You should do the same thing with Hillary Clinton. You start calling her out. If not, then you're nothing more than a bunch of confounded hypocrites. That's all I got to say about that. And you know what? If you're going to prove me wrong, it has to be meritable. Okay? All right. Next one came from Natural News. It came out yesterday. This is Julie Wilson to be exact. It says here, these are the U.S. representatives who voted to ban GMO labeling and deny your right to know what you're eating. And as it reads here, we should not raise prices on consumers based on the wishes of a handful of activists, said Representative Mike Pompeo, Republican from Kansas, who just became a consumer enemy number one after he decided to author a bill that destroys any chances Americans have on knowing what's in their food, specifically whether or not they contain genetically modified ingredients or GMOs. What Pompeo isn't telling you, and in fact is deliberately covering up, is that Americans overwhelmingly support GMO labeling. We're talking in the 90th percentile. You can view your proof support here, and here. There's links on that, but you know what? I'm going to skip it and you can see it for yourself. Pompeo, who has likely been paid very well by big food lobbyists to spearhead this initiative, has made it its mission to make sure that you and your family continue eating foods made from crops that are genetically engineered to withstand high doses of Monsanto Roundup, which, by the way, is primary ingredient glyphosate was labeled as being probably carcinogenic to humans by the World Health Organization last spring. Scientists also concluded glyphosate is genotoxic, meaning that it damages DNA and there is actually no safe level of exposure. But Pompeo doesn't want you to know any of that. In fact, he's worried that GMO labeling will only confuse you. Are you insulted? Well, you should be. Name the Safe and Accurate Food Labeling Act of 2015 by a bunch of politicians who know next to nothing about GMOs, and the DARK Act, denying Americans the right to know, by passionate food activists, consumer groups who have practically dedicated their lives to bringing awareness about the dangers of GMOs. The legislation that was recently passed in the House Committee prevent all states from enacting their own GMO labeling laws ever. It also strips states like Vermont, which already passed GMO labeling, their right from doing so. Well, I have to say about that, the 10th Amendment supersedes the DARK Act. So, with all due respect, I could wipe my behind on the DARK Act. Below is a list of politicians actively working to keep you and your family in the dark regarding the dangers of GMO. Click here to contact their information. Alabama, Bradley Byrne. From Alabama, Bradley Byrne, Roby Martha, Mike Rogers, Robert Adelholt, Mo Brooks, Gary Palmer, Terry Sewell, Don Young and Kirkpatrick, Martha McSally, Paul Gozer. He messed up here from Arizona. Okay. I think I'm... hold on here. Alaska. Don Young's from Alaska. All right. Okay, Ann Kirkpatrick, Democrat, is from Arizona. Martha McSally from Arizona. Gozer Paul, Arizona. Matt Solomon, Arizona. David Sherbrikert, Arizona. Christine Samina, Arizona. And believe it or not, it's not a one-partisan deal. Many Democrats and Republicans supported this. So, just to give you guys a heads up. Okay, just to give you guys a heads up. In Arkansas, it says here, Eric Crawford, French Hill, Steve Womack, Bruce Westerman. California, Doug LaMaffa, John Garmamendi, Tom McClonick, Amy Burra, Paul Cook, Jeff Densman, Jim Costa, David Valadao, Devin Dunes, Kevin McCarthy, Stephen Knight, Ed Royce, Ken Calvert, Mimi Walters, Dana Rochberger, Daryl Isa, and Duncan Hunter. Oh my goodness. Woo! Remember, Doug Hunter ran for president in 2008, so just to let you folks know, he wants to keep you in the dark. And I will continue on here from Colorado. Ken Buck, Scott Tipton, Doug Lamborn, Mike Kaufman, Delaware, John Carney. And then in Florida, check this out. Jeff Miller, Gwen Graham, Ted Yahoo, Andrew Crenshaw, Connie Brown, Ron DeSantis, John Micah, Daniel Webster, Richard Nugent, Gus Belarakis, David Jolly, Kathy Castor, Dennis Ross, Thomas Rooney. Oh, Thomas Rooney. Oh, yeah, the guy who hates free speech. Oh, yeah. Alcee Hastings. Oh, yeah, the guy who got impeached as a judge in 1987 or 88, if I'm correct. That was top headline news in the Miami Herald. Yes. And Mario Diaz-Balart. Carlos Cabero and Alina Lust-Leighton. They want to keep you in the dark. But you know what's funny? She talks ill about the president, which I'm not a fan of, by the way, about lifting the Cuban embargo. Yeah, but she wants to keep the American people in the dark. So she does not support human rights in the United States of America. She's just an example of another hypocrite, including the rest of them I already addressed here as well. So I'll be very fair. And of course, we got Georgia. Carter Buddy, Sanford Bishop, Lynn Westmoreland, Tom Price, Rob Waddell, Scott Austin, Doug Collins, Jody Heiss, Barry Loudermilk, Rick Allen, David Scott, and Tom Graves. And, of course, we got in Idaho, Raul Labrador and Mike Simpson. All right, and we got here in Illinois, Robin Kelly, Daniel Limbinski, Peter Roscom, Danny Davis, Timothy Duckworth, Rob Dole, Bill Foster, Mike Bost, Ronnie Davis, Randy Hultrin, John Shemikas, Adam Kinzinger, and Cherry Bostis. Before I keep going, I have to thank Lois Frankel, even though I'm not too fond of her. At least she took the initiative and not trying to keep me in the dark. So I like to thank you, Congresswoman Frankel, even though I have my criticism towards you, but I can give you the thumbs up on this for not keeping us in the dark. All right? And I will proceed. But doesn't mean we're buddies. All right? Okay, Indiana. Jackie Bralarski, Martin Stutzman, Todd Rokita, Susan Brooks, Luke Mazier, Larry Boxton, and Todd Young. All right, Iowa. Rod Blum, David Losbach, David Young, and Steve King. Not Stephen King, but Steve King. Kansas, Tim Halselkamp, Lynn Jenkins, Kevin Yonders, Mike Pompeo. Oh, yeah. Another Bend Over Bob. They're all Bend Over Bob's Ninja. Uncle Tom's and Aunt Jemima's towards Monsanto. So I will say that ethically. Remember that. And then I'll continue on. Kentucky, Ed Whitefield, Brett Guthrie, Hal Rogers, Adam Barr. In Illinois, we got Stephen Scalise, Cedric Richmond, Charles Balstani, John Fleming, Ralph Abraham, Garrett Graves. Maryland, Andy Harris, A. Dutch Rosberger. Okay, so from Maryland. Michigan, Dan Benishik, Bill Huizinga, John Molinar, Fred Upton, Tim Wahlberg, Mike Bishop, Candace Miller, David Trott, Brenda Lawrence. All right, in Minnesota, Timothy Walls, John Klein, Eric Paulson, Betty McCollum, Tom Emmer, and Colin Peterson. All right, Mississippi, Trent Kelly, Benny Thompson, Greg Harper, and Stephen Palazzo. Missouri, Lacey Clay, Ann Ragnar, Blaine Luke Camayer, Vicky Holster, Emmanuel Cleaver, Sam Graves, Billy Long, Jason Smith. Montana, Ryan Zink. Okay. Nebraska, Jeff Fortenberry, Brad Ashford, Adrian Smith. Nevada, Mark Amade, Joseph Heck, Crescent Hardy. New Hampshire, Frank Gunida. New Jersey, Donald Norcross, Frank Lobayandano, Tom MacArthur, Scott Garrett, Bill Parzel, and Rodney Franklin-Heisen. Okay. Oh, New Mexico, to all you fellow New Mexicans out there, Stephen Pierce, Republican from New Mexico. Go call him up and bust his chops and tell him, how's it feel being Monsanto's bitch? That's right. Or peasant. Go, yes, master. Bend over. How far, master? Exactly. And we got here. Oh, yeah. We got more cockroaches on this list from New York. Pete King, Daniel Donovan, Elise Stefanetic, Richard Hanna, Tom Reed, John Catco, and Chris Collins. Oh, my goodness. And how about North Carolina? They got some winners here. G.K. Butterfield, Renee Elmers, Walter Jones. Oh my goodness, Mr. Jones, what are you doing? Oh my goodness, you got some real good points, but why have you chose poorly? Gotta be ashamed of yourself. Virginia Fox, Mark Walker, David Wazier, Richard Hudson, Robert Pennekenner, Patrick McHenry, Mark Meadows, Alma Adams, and George Holding. Yeah, Jorge, one who sells himself. All right, North Dakota, Kevin Kramer. And Ohio, Steve Chabot, Brad Winstrup, Jim Jordan, Robert Latta, Bill Johnson, Bob Gibbs, Michael Turner, Marissa Fudge, if I'm going to call Fudge Packer for this, Pat Taberry, David Joyce, Steve Stivers, and James Renatzi. In Oklahoma, Jim Briderstein, Mark Wayne Mullen, Frank Lucas, Tom Cole, and Steve Russell. Oregon, Greg Walden and Kurt Schrader supported it. All right, Pennsylvania, Mike Kelly, Scott Perry, Glenn Thompson, Ryan Costello, Patrick Meehan, Michael Fitzpatrick, Bill Schuster, Tom Moreno, Lou Barletta, Stephen Keith Rusfis, Charles Dent, Joseph Pitts, Tim Murphy. And I'll continue on here. South Carolina, Joe Wilson, Jeff Duncan, Trey Gordy, Mick Mulvaney, Jim Clyburn, Tom Rice. It says here, South Dakota, Christy Noem. All right, continue on. Tennessee, Phil Rowe, Chuck Feischman, Scott Jarlowitz, Jim Cooper, Diane Black, Marsha Blackburn, Stephen Fincher. And in Texas, Louis Gomert, Ted Poe, Sam Johnson, John Ratcliffe, Jeb Harsnarling, Joe Barton, John Culberson, Kevin Brady, Al Green, Michael McCall, Michael Conway, Kay Granger, Mac Thornberry, Wendy Weber, Ruben Hinojosa, Yosa, Bill Flores, Sheila Jackson Lee, the clown from Houston. Okay, now we'll continue on here. Randy Normbauer, Lamar Smith, Pete Olson, Bill Hurd, Kenny Merchant, Roger Williams, Michael Burgess, Blake Fahrenhold, Henry Solier, Gene Green, Eddie Johnson, Pete Sessions, Mark Vise, Brian Babin. All right, Utah, Chris Stewart, Jason Chaffritz, Mia Love. It says here, continue on. Robert Whitman, Scott Regal, Randy Forbes, Robert Hurt, Bob Golatti, Dave Bratt, Griffin Morgan, and Barbara Comstock. All right, continue on here. Bueller Heria, Dan Newhouse, McMorris Rogers, Captain McMorris Rogers, David Reichert. Continue on here. David McKinley, Alex Mooney, Jenkins Evans. Wisconsin, Paul Ryan. He was a running mate for flip-flop Mitt Romney. He voted for it too. It tells you how much he cares about his own party, his own people. And James Sensenbrenner. Oh yeah, James Sensenbrenner from Wisconsin, right? Glenn Grothman, Sean Duffy, Reed Rebel, and Wyoming, Cynthia Lumnis. And there's additional sources here, New York Times, Congress, keep the Congress vote and all that. So there's a lot of here, the Hill. So there's many other stuff on here on the Dark Act. So I'm just laughing because it tells you we don't want labels on our foods. And you know what? It tells you one thing. A lot of these people may sell their souls to the multinational corporations such as Monsanto. However, the people can still make a change, can still make the difference. And they say this bill supersedes the Vermont GMO law. You know what I say? Penile microphone to them, because the bottom line is this: the 10th Amendment. Plain and simple, folks. You know what? It's like this. I think Vermont. I think people in Vermont could say, "Hey, screw these people. Don't order anything from them. Start supporting the smaller markets and have the big chain stores don't even buy their crap. They need us more we need them. Remember that. I know we need food, but we can't be too desperate. Yes, we all have bad habits. We'll make mistakes. But learn to think of them as wants, not needs. And you know what? In the long run, you will succeed. Not just for your benefit, but for your children and loved ones as well. So you know what? Those clowns that supported this ban GMO labeling, you're nothing more than Uncle Toms and Aunt Jemimas to the fascistic entity. And I say that ethically. I don't care what you look like or color of your skin, your gender, creed, etc. You sold your souls. And what really gets to me is Al C. Hastings supports the union. You know what? I don't even like that man. Okay? He's like Morris D's, like the clowns that support civil rights. He's just in that category. A stooge. And I'm from Florida. I can say that. Okay? He's the one who believes in doing some FEMA camp agenda. All right? I think it's HR 64. I could be mistaken, but this man has no class. Okay? And he's one of the most dirty, corrupt politicians out there. Because I know even on judicialwatch.org did an investigation on him. There's a lot of dirt on this man and how he votes. The man's pathetic, just like a lot of these clowns. And I'm disappointed with Walter Jones. Don't get me wrong, he has a lot of good points, but he chose poorly too. And I will criticize him and bend over Bob on this topic as well. Until he repents and reconsiders. This is why I had to put this out there, because our health is more important than those bastards trying to sell us the crap. So you know what? Support the local markets, support the local farmers, get the foods, even from the Amish. Okay? These corporations need us more. We need them. So please, practice this. I got to do the same thing. I openly admit it, but I'm learning every day. And you know what? I'm sure the more I learn, the more I comprehend, better opportunities I can share with everyone else. Okay? So definitely get that going. All right, next one here is got this from truthout.org, and this is entitled "Fight for $50 Advance for Bill Introduction to Congress" by Emily Foster, Campaign for America's Future news analyst. It says here, Sonita Bailey, a full-time federally contracted cashier at U.S. Capitol, gets paid a mere $10.10 an hour. She works a second job at KFC, which actually pays more than her government contract job. She clocks in 70 hours each week to make ends meet, which leaves her time for only 5 hours of sleep each night. Bailey's exhausting work schedule has taken a toll on her health. She had a miscarriage 2 weeks ago due to complications from sleep exhaustion and stress. I had a miscarriage at 3 a.m. alone, she said. Bailey was rushed to a hospital less than 3 hours before she usually wakes up for a regular, grueling work week. Sonita Bailey shouldn't have to work 2 jobs just to get by. If Bailey was to paid a living wage, she might have a living child. Members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus understand the dire need for workers across America to have a living wage, good benefits, and a right to unionize. Wednesday, Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from Vermont, actually the Democrat, Representative Keith Ellison, Democrat from Minnesota, Representative Judy Chu, Democrat from California, Representative Jancy Hahn, Democrat from California, and Representative Eleanor Holmes Norton, Democrat from D.C., joined hundreds of supporters from Good Jobs Nation outside the Capitol to introduce the new $15 federal minimum wage legislation and call for a $15 and a union executive order for federal workers. Why executive orders? The bill titled, which is a link for that, the bill titled Pay Workers at a Living Wage Act would step in to move a $15 minimum wage by 2020, starting from $9 in 2016. In addition, it placed provisions for the minimum wage to be indexed to the median hourly wage after 2020. The unfair tipped minimum wage of $213 will also be eliminated gradually. They call it a tip wage, said Ellison. I call it a starvation wage. According to the bill summary, 53 million U.S. workers make less than $15 per hour. This includes over half of all African-American workers and almost 60% of Latino workers. In addition, almost half of workers making less than $15 per hour are age 35 or older. These aren't just teens working part-time jobs. The American people need a raise, said Sanders. We have got to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour and introducing legislation today to do just that. With Republicans controlling both House and the Senate, it is highly unlikely that the legislation will go through anytime soon. Republicans' main argument is that raising minimum wage will cause businesses to raise prices on consumer goods, dragging down our economy. However, everyday taxpayers are actually bearing more costs because starvation wages, low-wage workers are enrolled in public assistance programs at more than twice the rate of the overall workforce. Over half of all fast food employees, many of which are federally contracted, requires public assistance, which cost taxpayers $7 billion in 2013. Given the poor odds of legislative action, members are continuing to press President Obama to sign a model employer executive order which would increase the minimum wage for federal contract workers to $15 an hour, make it easier for federal contract workers to unionize. President Obama signed an executive order in 2013 to raise the minimum wage for federally contract workers to $10.10 an hour. To $10.10. In his 2014 State of the Union address, he also called members of Congress to increase the minimum wage of all workers to $10.10. $10.10 is not enough. As Obama put it, nobody who works full-time should have to live in poverty. Businesses are taking advantage of short-change workers and depend on the government to pick up the tab for basic necessities like food, health care, and housing. Our American workers deserve better. They deserve a living wage. Representative Chu described the current federal minimum wage as a shameful reality. The federal government is one step behind cities such as Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, and St. Louis for introducing a proposal for $15 minimum wage. Today, New York State's panel examining the minimum wage for fast food workers even recommended today that the minimum wage for fast food workers in the state be raised to $15. When workers don't have to worry about how they are going to feed their families or pay rent, they become better workers. And when low-wage workers get a raise, they spend their money in local businesses and that create more jobs, not less, explained Senator Sanders. It's time to reduce poverty, expand the economy, and create good-paying jobs. It's time to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Well, I'll have to say about this, about the whole $15 an hour. It may sound good, okay? Here's a question. How come our money's fiat? Okay? That's one. And two, a lot of cities, they got some real damn high taxes. More people live in these areas, the higher it's going to go. And why people have to work more than two jobs? What happened to the family structure? That's what's really disturbing. Okay, and I know globalism and neo-mercantilism really hurt the economy. It's not capitalism whatsoever. Okay, it's totally irrelevant. But that's all I gotta say is this: how about get rid of the Federal Reserve? Go back to sound money. Let's at least start with the fiduciary note, Executive Order 11,110, which only the United States Treasury manages the money, got rid of the Federal Reserve. Okay, we gotta bring back the fiduciary note at the least to have. That means money that is backed up by commodity. Okay, since 1971, when Milhouse Nixon administration got rid, well, including the bankers, including the Federal Reserve Chairman who he appointed. I don't know his name, but I don't really care. Got rid of the gold standard and our dollar. Things start to go up. Fiat, how long can it last? All right, and here's another thing too. You got to look at with this $15 advance. All right, even for like other cities and so forth, what's going to happen? You got that. You got the Affordable Care Act, okay, because the whole healthcare crisis. Oh, yeah, I got the Affordable Care Act. That'll be a lot better. You know what? If you were to repeal the HMO Act in 1973, which was signed by Richard Nixon himself, healthcare would have been a lot more affordable. So please stop doing things backwards. This is so-called progress. I see greater stagnation with this term progress. It's really irrelevant. And I'm not, I want to see people make a damn good living. I am not going to argue with that whatsoever. But people got to start being, even myself, got to learn to be more entrepreneurs. Fight for what's right. Look at the fine print. Examine everything thoroughly. Sun Tzu, The Art of War would be a good book to read to everyone out there. You have to look at everything down to the bone, including city taxes, state taxes, all that. You've got to start really looking and all this. Even this whole mandatory auto insurance is involuntary servitude. It happens in Florida. Oh, you have to have insurance to keep your license. Oh, okay, boss. And they want to ding people on that too. So this is a lot more than just $15 an hour. It may solve a little. Just call it a Band-Aid. It's not an actual cure. It's just a little Band-Aid they want to put on this. And I'm not knocking, I'm not knocking the people that have these wages, like $50. Hey man, I'm a stage. I make that money. I got benefits too. Collective bargaining, which is good. I do support that. As long as you got the right people, qualified people to do the job. Okay, you got to be fair. No free handouts. The people are, I'm going to work to get a paycheck. No, earn your money. Have your work ethics. And it was so morose about this with Miss Bailey. She had to work these jobs. I don't know what happened to her. She ever had a husband? I don't know. I'm not making any judgments, but the family structure needs to be resurrected, stronger than ever before. They're trying to get us out, manipulate, con us, saying you don't need a man in your life. Men don't need women in their lives. I'm single, but you know what? There's people I like to have good relationships with and like go further. Even have babies if that happens. This is why I look at these bills. It may sound good, but the fine print may not be that great. So, all I gotta say, my friends, be entrepreneurs. Give each other a hand when you can. Bring back your family values. You still got beautiful people who support this, got strong families. Keep progressing, never stagnate. Working at KFC, please. Hey, it's like me people working at Walmart. Look, I'd rather work part-time doing stage work than work at that dump. So the whole thing is supply and demand. And it may be hard, but they need us more. We need them, like I said before. And I digress. So people got to make their decisions how to better themselves and fight for what's right without government intervention. That's all I got to say. All right, my friends. Next one here. I got this from Blacklisted News. And it's pretty interesting. Came out yesterday. Actually, from the Wall Street on Parade. Citizen got at Wall Street. And this one here is entitled JPMorgan Chase closes at all-time high as financial crisis sprout like 2008. This is written by Pam and Russ Martins. Came out yesterday. As it reads here, from the books of JPMorgan share price, one would think the financial world is bathing in a sea of tranquility rather than experiencing the crashing commodity prices, tremors in the Eurozone, Canada acknowledging 2 quarters of contraction, ruptures in the China stock markets, and energy and mining junk bonds losing 20 to 30% in a month. JPMorgan's share price hit an all-time closing high of $70.08 yesterday. The scary thing is JPMorgan stocks has run from $32 to $42 just 1 month before Lehman Brothers blew up in 2008, marking the beginning of the biggest financial crash since the Great Depression. And there had been a year of financial warnings prior to that. So much global bank share prices being bellwether on global financial stability. Once the 2008 crash was clearly underway, JPMorgan shareholders saw 70% of their share price evaporate in a 6-month stretch, ending in March 2009. JPMorgan is not some folksy community bank in New England with no counterparty exposure to other global banks or debt-ridden corporations. JPMorgan Chase is a global bank with over $2 trillion in assets, serving corporations and individuals in over 100 countries, according to its website. In February, the U.S. Treasury Office of Financial Research released a report, which you can look at it yourself, showing staggering levels of interconnection risk among global banks. JPMorgan Chase had the highest overall score for systemic and interconnected risk. The report was written by Marja Alaraka. Excuse me, I hope I pronounced that person's name right. Paul Glassman and H. Peyton Young, and found that 5 U.S. banks had high contagion index values: JPMorgan, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, and Goldman Sachs. Oh, okay, yeah. The ass clowns, I call them, the vultures. The author writes, the default of a bank with a higher connectivity index would have a greater impact on the result of the banking system because its shortfall would spill over onto other financial institutions, creating a cascade that could lead to further defaults. High leverage, measured as a ratio of total assets of Tier 1 capital, tends to be associated with high financial connectivity, and many of the largest institutions are high on both dimensions. The larger the bank, the greater the potential spillover if it defaults. The higher its leverage, the more prone it is to defaults under stress. And the greater is connectivity index. The greater is the share of the default that cascades onto the banking system. The product of these 3 factors provides an overall measure of the contagion risk that the bank possess for the financial system. Just this past Monday, the Federal Reserve announced that JPMorgan Chase faces a $12.5 billion shortfall in a meeting of the Fed's 4.5 capital surcharge imposed on it because of its sprawling size and interconnectedness. How cute. That doesn't seem like news that should send the banks a stock on an all-time high. Things are now getting so tense on Wall Street that 2 investing icons, Carl Icahn and Larry Fink, had a war of words on stage at an investment conference last week. Here's how Wall Street Journal's Devin Benoit tells what happened. BlackRock is an extremely dangerous company, Mr. Icahn proclaimed at NBC's Delivery Alpha Conference in New York. Mr. Icahn steered the bulk of conversation away from activism, the billing of the event, to his growing fears about a bubble in the high-yield bonds, what he called dangers of exchange-traded funds, or ETFs, run by firms like Mr. Fink's. Mr. Icahn blamed the increasing prices for such relatively risky debt partly on Mr. Fink's sprawling $4 trillion asset manager and his exchange-traded funds, which Mr. Icahn said were causing a liquidity problem because they have snapped up so many assets. Their fear is that will be no buyers if investors in junk bonds, ETFs panic and stampede for the exits. Icahn is not the only person worried about the scenario. In June, Richard Brenner, the director of the Office of the Financial Research, appeared at the Brookings Institution to discuss recent bouts of bond marketing illiquidity. Brenner quoted SEC Commissioner Michael Pewar on the issue of ETFs, who has said the growth of bond mutual funds and exchange traded funds in recent years means that these funds now hold a much higher fraction of the available stock of relatively less liquid assets than they did before the financial crisis. Their growth heightens the potential for a forced sale on the underlying markets if some event were to trigger large volumes of redemptions. We may be closer to that trigger than many investors realize. Bloomberg Business is reporting the morning that Sand Ridge Energy Inc. bonds have lost almost 30% since June, while notes of Minor Cliffs Natural Resources Inc. are down more than 27%. The article also notes that bonds of distressed debtor issues are on pace to lose more than 20% of the second straight year. Worst performance is 2008. Well. This is pretty interesting. So Mr. Icahn says he is worried that it can happen anytime. Bam! A domino effect around the world. Greece is going to be a good example. Look what's happening in Spain, Portugal. big banks try to run the countries, and look what happened, it backfires. Oh yeah, so you got to really look at this thoroughly. And I am not a big fan of JPMorgan Chase myself. Remember, JPMorgan was involved with the Federal Reserve Act. One of the main individuals that was involved, including Paul Warburg and many others at the creature from Jekyll Island, that was pushing for a new central bank to run our currency in the United States. So, amuck as usual with the banks, because they fumble and they want us to pay the tab. You know what I say? If JPMorgan Chase and these big banks go under, you know what? Let it be. Hell with the bailouts. Let them fall on their own faces. I do feel bad for the rank and file if they may have to suffer from it. So, a little interesting there. Part of the global financial crisis. It can happen anytime. It can be high and it can crash anytime. So, I'm going to take the initiative on subscribe to them. Okay, good. Go back. Yep, okay, good. Got that back there. All right, well, enough for that. And the next one here. This is very interesting. This is from cnet.com. It's entitled, Stop Google from Tracking You on Google Maps. Learn how to disable location history for your Google account. Also, how to delete some of all your whereabouts from your timeline. As it reads here, this is by, hold on, who wrote this? Matt Elliott. Okay, Matt Elliott came out, okay. And it says here, Google Maps is rolling out new feature to Android and desktop users called your timeline. With you can see the places you've been. Google is quick to point out that timeline information is private and visible only to you. Okay. And you must opt into the feature enabling location history on your Google account, which begs the question, do you have location history enabled? Let's have a look. On our desktop, log onto your Google account and head to My Account page. Next, click Personal Information Privacy and scroll down Places You Go section. If the map is full color, slider switch is blue, then you have location history enabled. Click the body to pause location history. The map slider will turn gray and Google will cease tracking you. On any Android device, go to Settings, General, select Google from My Accounts, tap My Location under Privacy, then tap Google Location History under Location Services. Lastly, tap to uncheck the box, turn off Location History. If you already received your timeline feature, then you can pause directly from the main view of your timeline on Google Maps. Just scroll along the bottom banner until you see location history box and click the pause button. You can also pause location history by clicking on the gear icon located on the right corner of the map. And it shows you right there on that map there. Alright, if you found that you had a location history enabled and would like to delete some of this data, you get rid of it on a specific day. Delete all location history and click the trash can button in the right corner of the main view of your timeline and delete on a single day the year, month, and day. Pull out menus to select specific date and then click the trash can button that sits along the right edge of the timeline panel. Oh yeah, and there is a video for no, there's no video for that, but good advice what you can do, and there's even other ways of getting these tracks. I heard of some stuff like Block It Pocket. I haven't tried it yet, but I heard that blocks the GPS as well and tracking of you, and even protects you from radiation. Yeah, I gotta take this and get these stuff too. But this is good to know. Block these things. Drive these bastards crazy, especially Google, man. Hey, look, I may use Google Plus just to put out information, but I'm not gonna put my sex life on there whatsoever. Okay, so know your limits, and you don't need to tell them where you locate it or what part of the world you're going to. It's not their damn business whatsoever. And there's even claimed that Google is involved with the CIA and the NSA, and it's been talked about even in the White House as well. No, in Congress too. So, but definitely keep this handy, and just to let you know, everything I'm going to be addressing is going to be on my Spreaker page, so you can look it up yourselves. Okay. All right. Finally. Came from Personal Liberty, came out today from the Personal Liberty News Desk. It's entitled, "In Chicago's Dense Concealed Carry Neighborhoods, Minorities Hold the Most Permits." And like it says here, the gangs have their guns, we want ours too. That sentiment, voiced by Otis McDonald, the plaintiff in the lawsuit that reversed Chicago's ban on handguns, is now echoed in a new analysis of data revealing where holders of concealed carry permits in the city are most densely concentrated. The Chicago Times studied the occurrence of CC permits within each of Illinois zip codes and found that the heaviest concentration of permit gun owners resided in some of Chicago's most racially diverse neighborhoods. Chicago's highest concentration of permits is in the 60617 zip code in the East Side neighborhood of the city's southeast side, with 538 permits the time found. According to the new census, about 55% of the residents in the 60617 are black, 34% are Hispanic, 7% are white. The findings that appear to confirm what McDonald, who died last year at the age of 80, has been saying all along. This is what Otis McDonald is telling us before he passed away. NRA lobbyist Todd Vandermine told the Times people in his neighborhood and others were hungry for this, but were denied by the political class. I'll be very sincere too. I like this a lot, but I am not a fan of permits in general. However, I do want to see the people, the people in that area, especially in Chicago, to really get it down pack. So I'm gonna do this for a moment here, because I do support constitutional carry, period. Alright, because this is what which I have to find really intriguing. So I'm just gonna look it up for a moment, and it looks like this other don't want to give it to me. So I am gonna look on my website. But one thing about it, I agree, because hey, if the gangsters have the street gangs have the guns, the citizens should be armed too. Because remember, like I said before, the police aren't obligated to protect you. All right. So this is why it says here, Article 1, Bill of Rights under the Constitution of the State of Illinois. I'm gonna put this right next to it. Bingo. It says here, inherent and inalienable rights. All men are by nature free and independent and have certain inherent and inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights and the protection of property, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Hopefully, Mayor Gonzo, Rahm Emanuel, is hearing this, because your rhetoric does not supersede Article 1, Section 1. And we will continue on here, in this whole area. And I know I've read this enough times, so I am comprehending on the right to bear arms. Section 22, Article 1 says, subject only to the police power, the right of the individual citizen to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. All right? And finally, Section 24, rights retained. The enumeration in this Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the individual citizens of the state. So, what does that mean? You don't need a permit to carry, to own. Your rights are guaranteed, not just under the Second Amendment U.S. Constitution or the Ninth, but Article 1, Section 1, 22, and again 24 of the Illinois Constitution. Oh, Dingleberry Police Chief Gonzo Rahm Emanuel, your mayor, can't say a damn thing to you. So I'm happy. One thing I'm happy about this is that the people in Illinois, even the black community, the Hispanic community, and even the whites, they all are uniting to fight the right to defend themselves and their families and loved ones. I am very proud of that. The permits to me is a privilege, not a right. Training to learn to shoot these things, education on firearms, yes, everyone has to take the initiative. I'm doing it. Everyone else got to do it too. We don't need permits. Constitutional carry should be the next step for the state of Illinois. I know Florida, my state, has to do the same thing. Because the one thing I'm happy about, Maine became the state, constitutional carry state, which you can carry concealed or open without a permit. And I believe the state of Illinois, including Chicago, the Windy City, the assembly there, the council, the mayor, the police chief. If you don't like it, get the hell out of there and go to some cave or a nation of privileges, because Chicago, the people of Chicago, don't deserve it. And Article 1, Bill of Rights, means you keep out. Your rhetoric is unacceptable, null and void. And you know what? Keep the peace in Chicago if you're a police officer, instead of being a collecting revenue demonade. The war on drugs is a sham. Self-defense is righteous regardless of your race, color, creed, gender, etc. Keep Otis McDonald's legacy alive. And the NRA knows I'm a little critical of them on how they do things. Not all bad people, but they are catching on, which is good. And the members need to put the pressure on them, even order their bylaws. Every member is entitled to get order their bylaws and call them out if they screw around. Okay? And that is it. And that is it. I'm happy to put this out. And the criminals out there, you better think twice. Because blowback, if you keep up your garbage, blowback will occur on you when least expected. And if you got family out there, oh, we got to put me down. This guy, my poor baby, is a criminal, but he shouldn't be killed. You know what? That's too bad, because you choose poorly. And the people in Chicago are fed up of playing the peasant. So, like I said before, keep Otis McDonald's legacy alive, folks. Make Frederick Douglass proud. Okay? Got any beef? Questions? You know what I will say? Go to blackmanwithagun.com. Look it up. Good man named Pastor Kevin Blanchard. He explains it in a more honorable, righteous manner on self-defense. He's a firearms trainer as well, so I'm not going to add that to my footnotes, but you can look it up yourself. And you can tell him, look, the third said so. And you can tell him I said hello. We follow each other on Spreaker as well, okay? So I'm going to add the Illinois Constitution to my memo, and that is really it. And I do thank you, everyone, for listening out there. Plus, feel free to download and share this throughout your social media network. If you have any questions, comments, criticisms, love letters, hate letters, recommendations, or send information or a shout out, please use it with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, or send your comments to iHeartRadio. Or you can email me at LokiLuck3, which is all together, at gmail.com. Once again, I thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.